go, Greg. I used to say that. You're like, why do you say that? They know. They just know. Um, it is this time of the month where we're talking about this month in the world of marketing. But we need some music there. I'm working on the backgrounds. Hope you all like it. But let's all dive in and introduce ourselves. I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media, and Phelan.
Oh,
Rena. Yeah, go. Just
I
go. Take it. Go like this.
okay,
Irene,
oh,
we need an organization
We
here.
do. We do. So it should be, I don't know. Yeah. So below me is Rena from Little Works Indie Media. Say hi, Rena.
Hello.
And there's Greg and there's Phelan, and we'll just get into it. And I am going to put our names up. But I didn't have time and we're working on backgrounds. So let's take it into what's most important right now in industry stuff, guys. I'm thinking
So
it's
many things. There's a lot in social these days.
yeah. I think we should dive into the X.
All right. Well,
Which
yes.
take it away, Rena.
Yeah. So what I understand about that is that um, um, Elon Musk, obviously, he bought this domain actually a long time ago. After he sold his shares in his first company, he bought this domain, and he's always been obsessing about creating this all-in-one kind of social platform. And he's going to use the X and Twitter. When he bought Twitter, he did say, and somebody reminded me of this on Twitter. He did say that that was his purpose for buying Twitter when he bought Twitter. So he wasn't concerned about keeping Twitter as Twitter is, which is obviously what he's done. He's changed a lot of things and annoyed a lot of people. But he's looking to build an all-in-one platform. I guess, I mean, when I think of an all-in-one platform, I think of Facebook because,
Interesting.
because Facebook is kind of an all-in-one platform. But he's looking at not only just social, but also payment, another payment, like another PayPal type thing, in addition to the social aspects of it. So that's kind of where he's going with that.
That's like China.
Um,
What is that, Phelan? What is the
WeChat.
WeChat?
He's
Everybody wants
trying
to
to
be a
model it
WeChat.
after. Yeah, he wants to model it after WeChat, which is actually like
ah,
it is
I
an
don't know
all-in-one platform.
what.
We
Okay.
wouldn't. We don't really use it. It's not used outside of China, but it is an all-in-one platform where basically it was Twitter. It was actually like an equivalent of Twitter. Then they added a payment processor for the Chinese New Year so that people could send donations to each other. And then overnight, they basically took off as being like number one hub platform of like,
Right.
any e-commerce
Interesting.
transaction. And
Can you
so
be
that's,
social
Okay.
on there?
yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it still
Yeah.
has social media. And so that's how you
Yeah.
find restaurants, and people find the restaurants, and you order inside of WeChat for that restaurant, and it's all
Isn't
done
that
within.
yeah, that's funny because that's what Google wanted too
Internet.
originally with their
Yeah.
search
So
engine with like it would say Rena likes this restaurant and so I would be more likely to go to that restaurant if one of my friends liked it. So that's why you have followers on Google Business Profile now.
Google also has the ability, I noticed and participated in it when I was out in Rosedale, the ability to order online straight from your Google page. And it's
Mm.
integrated
Yeah,
with DoorDash, which is really interesting.
There's a
yeah,
lot of
But
integrations
restaurants like that.
happening, right?
totally. So it'll be an interesting race between, Facebook, Google, and X into who becomes the first all-inclusive web experience. Because I suppose that's kind of like what France started out with when I moved to France in 2004. They had this kind of thing that I used to describe as a mini internet. That's what people had access to. They didn't even get into the World Wide Web, but I forgot what they called it. But it was like a selection of French things that you could do online, and it was like a contained space. So this kind
Mm.
of sounds like a lot like controlling the internet in a very particular different way, where people wouldn't have to ever leave that particular space, which is control. You get control over your audience when you have that.
It's true, and then you get the advertising dollars because you have the eyeballs, right? And the
Yes,
length of time.
yes,
That's why Google and Facebook hate each other a little
yes,
bit.
yes,
So, which is
exactly.
Uh,
I think why we're seeing in the search engine results pages now how you search on when you do your Google business profile, it's right on the search engine. I don't know if they're counting that time that you're so I don't know how that's working. So it's very interesting, right? Because technically Google search is it's a website. Google's a website, right? But it never feels like one because it's just like an index of things, right? So, a lot going on. Anything else going on in social arena besides
Yes,
X?
yes, there are. There are so many things. So Thread obviously launched recently, and it seems like a lot of people have jumped on that. I'm kind of surprised for two reasons. One, which I'll leave to you, Pip, to talk about because I know that was your big thing. But the reason why I thought it was very strange is because it's so much like Twitter, um, but and I don't see anything interesting or new or different that would make me want to be on there to build my thing. But maybe I'm just short sighted.
I
Lots
mean,
of
just
people are
that
going
it's
on.
not Twitter would be nice.
What?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
that it's not
yeah.
Twitter would be nice.
I guess so, but I just don't. I mean, so many people It's like the timing is bad. So many people exited off of Twitter and they went to. Please help me out. What's that other one called again?
I
Oh,
Mammoth, not Mammoth.
Mastodon.
Mastodon. Yeah, yeah,
Mastodon,
Yeah,
Blue Sky.
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
couple.
So all of those places, all of the active Twitter people went over there. The people that I really liked watching. What I see now is that it's a lot of Instagram people that are moving over to the what's it called again?
Oh.
Yeah,
Threads.
Threads.
Threads. Instagram people moving over to Threads, a lot of Facebook people moving over to Threads. So I'm not sure that it's a new audience or that or that the people from Twitter are moving over who weren't on Facebook because most of those people weren't on Facebook or weren't active on Facebook. So I'm not. I still think it's like a clear division between Meta users on one side and Twitter users going to all of these other disparate things. A lot of the people
Mm.
that I know went to Substack at that same time. They started a lot of different kinds of ways of reaching out to their audience instead of Twitter. So that became kind of like a lot of disparate spaces. And then Meta I think they're just taking Meta. I would like to see the data. I haven't found any yet on how many new users Threads brought to Meta.
Ah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I don't think it's very many, if any. Um, and then Pip, do you want to talk about the part that you didn't like about it? Because that was pretty.
The part that I thought was very unnerving was the terms of service that people talked about,
Yeah,
and the fact that
yeah.
you sign away uh, your life, and like, I mean, where they can grab your medical records and stuff. That's what it sounded
Are you?
like anyway. It made me feel concerned about my own privacy. So I haven't gone on there actually, but Greg, are you on there?
Yeah, I'm
As
on
far
there.
as
I've tweeted a couple of times on Threads.
Is it?
tweeted, exactly, exactly. And that's the other problem with this X thing is that it's kind of a strange thing to do because the
I X'd you.
language has been adopted. Like this is one of the biggest branding languages to be adopted into mainstream. You know, when people are always talking about tweeting, whether you're on Twitter or not, they talk about
Hmm.
tweeting and retweeting. You know, it's not resharing, it's retweeting, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Um, I think that
One thing
that's
I didn't
really
think about until now is that the X to me is very negative, rigid. Like, I don't know.
Strict. Feels
Yeah,
strict.
I
I don't
feel
know.
like it's
yes,
not very inviting. The letter X.
yeah. But for do
Um,
you know why he chose this one? It's
Because
pretty
he's,
interesting.
yeah,
because
yeah.
he
Tell
had
X
us.
it.
X is where the treasure is. X marks the spot for the treasure. So that was his rationale behind it. But I do agree. I think X is very it's a harsh word. It's a harsh word to say. It sounds harsh, and it often means no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
and
It's a
Telling you,
negative connotation.
they're all
and
becoming the
the
villains.
yeah, and the logo, yeah, and the logo that came out is done in black, and it's just it's pretty. It's got harsh edges, like X's have harsh edges. You can't really. Whereas the little bird is just kind of cute. It's everyone likes it. X is into. Oh yes, it can be anything you want. Who is our Facebook user today? That sounds like Glenna. Is it Glenna?
Yeah, it sounds like Glenna. I love that though.
Yeah, that's a
uh,
good idea. I never thought of it like that, but that is absolutely true. It can be anything you want. That's true. And that's yeah. So I do think that it's going to be interesting
It's
whether or
Kelly.
not. Oh,
oh,
it's
hi,
Kelly.
Kelly.
Oh, awesome.
I wish we could get the names in there. We do go look on Facebook. Hello, Kelly.
Yeah.
We should just say,
Yeah.
introduce yourself if you're coming on.
Oh, there we go.
Right? Kelly, are you on Threads as well? So I think this is the biggest news this month would be the X and Twitter's happenings, yeah? You think? From all of it?
I mean, it's the biggest change that's happened for social media, and it's the biggest one because it was the fastest growing before TikTok, right? That they just cleared 100 million active users on Threads, which is
Yeah.
currently the fastest growing website
Yeah.
because that's from 0 to 100 million, which is pretty good. And so
there were a couple other things we need to talk about before we can talk about which was the biggest. I guess that was the biggest news, but which is the biggest event for business owners?
What is the biggest event for business owners?
There was a way more exciting thing for me, which was the Instagram subscriptions. I think that's going to be quite useful. That was announced just the other day, 2 or 3 days ago.
Tell us more.
Yeah, so basically what you can do is you can create subscriptions with two-tier content types, and people who subscribe for a monthly fee to your, and you can choose what that monthly fee is, will get those premium pieces of content delivered to them, and the rest of the folks will get your usual or whatever else you want to put on. Oh, I wonder if anyone ever does subscriptions and then leaves all the rest of the people out cold. I guess that wouldn't be very good.
It's like a paywall, right? So
good.
Are they competing with what is the one you can you get there are some, so we follow people and they have like on YouTube you can pay to subscribe. Podium I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, YouTube also has a paid tier, so they also have something similar where it's like you don't subscribe, but you go up to a paid tier, and then there's like extra lives that happen, and there's a bunch of other additional features you can open up.
Patreon, thank you. I knew Kelly would know that.
And Substack also has a premium.
Oh, interesting. So, I mean, and that's going to be used to sell things, you think, more like, or just to keep your audience close to you, and so creating that in-group, out-group bias kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's really an integral part of your funnel, right? So you get people to the premium content, and you give them a little bit more of a helping hand there, and then it's easier to identify which and get you, speaking with individuals who might want your premium services or whatever.
So are you going to subscribe to anyone or pay for a subscription to anyone? Oh, that's interesting.
Me? Well, I actually pay for 2 subscriptions in the world, not on Instagram. I don't know. I have to see who's on there and who's providing what kind of content and suss it out. So
we pay for one, and it's in Slack, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was the other one. Greg, do you pay for any private membership things for information?
I mean, I've got subscriptions for all kinds of stuff, but I mean, we're talking work-related things, or
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, unless you're paying for Patreon for a car thing or photography.
I don't really have a lot of subscriptions for work-related content. No, other than the basic, like I have to subscribe to web hosting to get web hosting, like. That's a subscription.
So the subscription model is coming out. So that's the longer form recurring revenue, that I think Yellow Pages was one of the first to put in place, that recurring payment type thing, unless you were getting a magazine. Magazines too, right? And they had the double revenue of the subscribers and the advertisers. It's quite interesting. So
yeah, the other thing this opens up as well that makes me think, because it's on Instagram, is that it opens up the possibility of a new ad type as well, like a new campaign goal, right? Because if you're doing like, hey, it's our annual, like, get a deal, you can do like an annual plan or something like that, where there's some incentive to do it now and do it for a year, and then if Facebook and Meta advertises it properly, you're making money, they're making money off of it as well. So I imagine that there's going to be something like that out there.
Yeah, it
right?
was about time that they actually did something for the creators on Meta, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I thought groups were you're going to be able to advertise in groups. I've never. I mean, our group's just all organic, everything. So I wouldn't feel good about it, to be honest. I also don't have ads on my YouTube channel. Not that we do much there, but I mean, it's all what you want to do and what you're comfortable with and what you want people who look at your stuff to, you know, be part of. So, and that we should state that it's not Google Ads when you're the person getting the money from the ads. You know what I mean? When you have ads on your content. What's it called, Phelan?
AdSense.
AdSense. That's right. That's right. So, other social news or search news, website news. We got lots going on. But I know those were that was your favorite, right, Rena? The Instagram subscription. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
so. Yeah, I think so. I think that was my favorite.
This
What do
month.
you think the lawsuit, Musk versus
Well, that's
Buddy?
more
Face.
entertaining.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
find
And
that
the
Yeah.
yeah.
like I
You
read
think it
all of
would
the
go anywhere?
articles.
I
I don't know.
I
Hard
just
to
think it's
say.
funny that Musk lays off a bunch of people and why can't I remember his name right now?
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg hires him and builds threads. I
Right,
just
but they yeah, yeah, yeah.
think it's so
They
funny.
they probably had threads on the go anyway, just like how Google had Google Plus.
Yeah.
Like they had they always build these platforms just in case there's like a gap and they could just launch them. Like to spin up something like this, I like honestly I don't see it as like, ooh, that would have been really difficult for any company to really spin up.
Well,
Because a
it's
lot of the code
Instagram with a focus on text instead of the
text.
image.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
But
which is like
Instagram was
infinitely
about the
easier.
image.
what's that?
Instagram was bought. That was its thing, right?
Originally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, and I kind of like that you can't share other people's content on Instagram still, right? As you can tell, I'm not on there much. So, but I know you guys are on there more than me. I'm mainly on Facebook and yes,
I bet you
TikTok.
that'll be changing soon. I bet you. I predict that will change because on TikTok they created the ability to share people's videos
Hmm.
and
Mm.
Uh,
not long ago. So I assume that will come on Instagram also soon.
And didn't Twitter
I would
bought? Oh,
actually
sorry. Go.
I would just say that I would actually disagree with that. And the
Oh
reason
yeah.
why is that there's actually a monetary reason why they don't allow people to share on Instagram. And it's because it saves them money on moderation because they actually have to moderate it. And the fastest the way that like really out of control stuff is people sharing things because you don't have to post it, you don't have to upload it, but then people sharing it is usually one of the worst ways that like really bad content gets around. And so if you don't enable that, then it's easier for you to just track down the single user that's the single source and then shut them down. And
Mm.
so I've heard about it from like people who do like moderation on platforms and like that consult, and they said that Instagram's got an easier time with it because they don't enable sharing.
Well, I'm interested to see why. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no way for them to find the source, delete that, and then have them all disappear.
Mm.
Well, but then it's all the other people that shared it. They also have to get flagged, and then it's like, oh, do we flag them? And then it's like a whole. You have to like.
Mm. Where do
Right.
we
So
see the?
happens with on Facebook, which is what I don't understand about sharing, because when you share something on Facebook, and the original poster removes that post, then it's gone. It's gone from
Oh,
everyone's shared it.
Y-
Yeah, because if you go
yeah,
into your memories, you see the content's not available anymore. That's generally what's happened.
that's funny. They
yeah,
would
but
delete the content.
it's the actual moderators on the back end who actually have to go through and deal with the users. That's where there's a lot of like man hours spent actually going through, or like people working to go through and like sift through it.
Oh yeah, yeah. We don't think
So,
about that often, do we?
I'd like
I
to know
just
how TikTok deals with it.
Well, TikTok doesn't share content. You can't share. You can share, and you can share videos privately too, right? So, I think that's. I mean, if we need to look at the stats to see where people are at now with where they're spending their time on the social medias, right? Like,
Sure.
I mean, because I think there's been, you know, again, good revenue for a lot of the social accounts like Facebook, Meta. They've done their ad revenue has gone up. I think same with Google in the last quarter, right? So, but there's a lot. So I'm moving us. I'm moving us to search websites because lots is going on in search, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about it because they're getting rid of things like page speed experience. Core Web Vitals is changing. They're getting rid of mobile friendly test. Google's getting rid of so because everybody's mobile friendly, but I mean they're changing the Core Web Vitals, like the first paint and stuff like that we see that really makes everybody a little anxious and they don't know how to manage. Yeah, it's so they're changing some names in there. I think it's got INP is what we're going to be seeing. I have no idea. I got to read up. So this is all coming in the next 3 months.
It's
That they
something people
announced.
don't even have control over changing either.
Well, and there's some funny. Well, they do with their images. Like we ran across a website problem where there's over 4,000 super big images, and even though they're using Squarespace, the images are just too big, and they're weighing things down. So, and that
Oh,
changes there's a shift. The Phelan, what's it called? What the dynamic shift when
Cumulative
you
cumulative
Layout.
layout shift.
yeah. And that, so if you fix the images, then that should write itself. So that's a little bit of a control, right?
right.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, and then we're seeing a lot of automations with the AI stuff, right? And how is Google fighting back? Like, does that content matter? I know we're all starting to put things through AI identifiers, right, for content. I don't know. Are you guys doing that? Um,
No.
oh, I test our own
If
content,
I
right?
write it
Because
myself, I don't.
didn't you put one of your website pages through and didn't it say it was all AI
Yeah,
generated,
when
Greg?
AI first, became a thing, I went to a checker and I copied every page of my website and pasted it into the checker. And sure enough, there was a certain page that was like almost 100% AI written. I'm like, hey, I wrote that entire thing. What the hell?
I thought that was
So,
Did,
pretty bang on.
did you borrow any of it as a draft from somewhere else?
no, no.
Interesting.
Interesting, right? Greg, you might write a little robotically. Uh,
I think it was more flagged like that because it was a page that was about multiple services
mm,
and sort of linked to multiple services. So they were all shorter sentences like for web design, click here to the actual web design page. For social media, that kind of a
yeah.
thing. So there was the content itself was because it was so many little pieces of things as a jumping off point. It probably took the whole thing as this is very robotic or
Mm.
artificial.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, because it's simple and short. So I'll often take my text, put it through like Grammarly, put it through Hemingway, um, and oh wait, and Kelly is saying, I think it's Kelly. You guys can go check. It's hard for businesses to decide where they're spending their advertising dollars, and then AI is it's like I think all the rage. I'm using it now to help start content, or actually, there's so many fun things. I've taken a presentation I did and put it through the AI and asked it to write me a blog post from the presentation. So that was really interesting what it came up with. And then I did a weird one where you could, do a write me a parallel or write me something like a metaphor for like a search engine being like a experimental lab. You know what I
So
mean? Yeah.
I just want to answer Kelly's question, or
Yeah.
Facebook user's question.
It's Kelly.
So she was asking, should I change stuff if you've done it through AI? That's kind of a loaded question. The question you need to ask yourself is, do you need to claim copyright on that article? If you do want to claim copyright, if you're selling it to somebody else, or it's got proprietary information on it, I don't think an about us is really going to be something that someone's going to steal from you. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if you're doing a white paper, for example, or something that requires more rigorous um, ownership over, like
Mhm.
you want to actually protect that ownership, then yes, you're going to want to change it.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think just having it in your own voice as well. So using this, the thing about AI and stuff like that, I think, is if you use it for as a tool to help you maybe get inspiration. I mean, because if you use it enough, you'll see that it says, like, if I read on a website, unlock unlock the potential of Google Ads. I'm telling you, I'm going to think that's AI now,
But
because they
but
start everything with unlock.
sure, but the thing about it is, though, is that it's all about citation, also. That's the second part of it. So part of it's about
Mm,
ownership, the other part is citation. If something is common knowledge, then it doesn't need to be cited. Um, if it's somebody else's idea completely that you didn't have in your brain beforehand, then you need a citation, even if it's paraphrased. Like that's just academic, the rigorous notion of academia. You need to actually have that. If you don't have that in there, if AI has just pulled something that's really spectacular from somebody's site and it's their
information.
research, their information, is their proprietary, they've put the work in to get that information, then you can't just take that. That's the thing. You
I
can't
think
just
it's,
take that.
yeah.
But people are doing it online anyways. They scrape the web and rewrite things, and then call it theirs. But really, it's a problematic space. So it really depends on what you want to claim. Is this your idea? Do you understand enough of the idea to
Mm.
actually be an expert? Because if you don't, someone's going to figure it out eventually.
Well, that, you bring up some interesting points, because that it in that line of thinking, that would mean that external links are going to start to matter more on your website, because they're going to be used as your citation, right? That's a great way to, like, extend information to people, showing your expertise. um
Yes,
and
value is
expertise is,
very
yeah, so
important.
expertise is going to become more important. So if we look at this and kind of try to figure out, well, where does this make things start to go, right? What can we do to improve what we're doing, so that we're not just taking information? And I mean, we know somebody who their old business partner um, redid a whole website in AI.
Yeah,
Um,
and here's the other thing. There are actual build your website using AI platforms. And here's the thing that's funny about that, or problematic, maybe more than funny. I find it funny. But there's somebody that I know who is trying to start a business in an industry that they are not trained in. They have no understanding about, and they have no business background. So they're coming into it completely green, and they're allowing AI to provide all the information to them to actually create an entire business, which is not terrible. On, I mean, all the tools that you can use is great, but it sort of, but when it came down to like doing the actual work and working with clients, there was a big fail on that. Do you know what I mean? Like there was a big gap, a big knowledge
mm,
gap in the sales process when the sales calls happened. So,
interesting.
the AI got all of the traffic and the interest, and then
Mm.
when the sales happened or the work was brought in, it was a disaster,
I,
So you
I
have to
just
really understand that it's a tool. You're not going to use a calculator to create like the most, well, actually, a
to
calculator
create
wouldn't
a
do that.
rocket launch. Well, you probably will, but
Yeah,
it'll be a big calculator. Um,
but you could technically Google and find, how to make a bomb. Everyone does it, right? But that doesn't mean that you're going to be like, well,
Everybody does it, do they?
Great.
Maybe.
Now our video is going to be flagged, Rena.
I know, I
You
know.
said bomb.
I'm sorry. I
That was
did
funny.
do
No,
that.
Yeah,
we're gonna
You
get a
can bleep
visit
it
from
out.
CSIS.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty. I did
I
see.
would
Oh, good.
just because we're running up on time. I just wanted to say no. You should absolutely change it, and the reason why is because Google will downrank your website.
Mm, I
Um,
would
Oh,
agree
for
with
the
that.
about
I
us
would.
that,
section?
Yeah,
For the about us?
yeah, they
yeah.
yeah.
If
Even
Okay.
it
if you
if
detect
if it
any AI on your
used it
website,
as
they will
AI
downrank you.
written, it would.
Okay.
So
So, Greg, are you changing your page then?
no, because I
That's good.
actually wrote it, and also I don't really care.
right? I think it's really interesting and really fun. And now we are out of time. Do we know what we're doing next week?
I do, because it's going to be a fun topic and everybody should join us.
What is it?
It's Rena and myself, and we're talking about the best block plugins to extend your WordPress block editor.
Oh, do you know? Okay, so we've had a couple experiences recently with the block editor and people asking questions. So that's going to be really good. And Kelly says, I'll make changes. Copied in for first word. Yeah.
Just put it into an AI detector and see what value it gives, and then just rewrite it in your own language.
Yeah. That's good help.
Yeah.
Okay, and we will see you all next week. All right, bye.